Welcome to the Hearts Entwined podcast. In this podcast, we'll be having discussions around the secrets which attract lasting, healthy, fulfilling relationships, creating a healthy mindset, and what women should know and understand about men. Introducing your host, Lynn Smith, the Queen of Hearts, relationship expert, trainer, speaker, and best-selling author of the Cupid's Bow technique. Lynn's mission is to have a positive impact in reducing divorce, domestic violence, and suicide.
Welcome to the Hearts Entwined podcast. This is your host, Lynn Smith, the Queen of Hearts, and today I have a fabulous returning guest. Her name is Suman Manghra, and she's a manifestation maven. So first of all, Suman, welcome to the Hearts Entwined podcast yet again as a great guest from previous.
Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be back. It was such a wonderful time that I had last time I was here. So I was really excited when I was welcomed back. So thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. And manifestation maven, that got me very curious when we were talking off air. What's the manifestation maven all about? What does that mean?
So yes, as I was basically working on building my brand and then finding my niche and all that journey that everybody goes through and they go into the coaching business. I was working with funny enough, her name was she refers to herself as a clarity maven. And as I was getting clarity around my own stuff, she's like, well, a lot of echoing of what your work seems to lead back to manifestation and a lot of manifestation mastery. And so the word maven came about because maven actually means like being like a master in a certain area. So for me, it's not just about being a master of manifestation myself, but people that I work with and what I want to teach and help others with is to become masters of manifestation and mavens in their own right. So that's where it kind of came about.
Excellent, lovely. I wanted to get that actually out there into the audience's heads because I was obviously myself curious as to what it meant, but also I would have thought, some of the audience members wouldn't have known what it meant. So I'm glad I asked the question and got that clarity around it. So today we're going to be talking about desirable and undesirable habits whilst dating. And, I think this is going to be a very hot and interesting topic for our listeners to hear. All our words of wisdom and like you say, the manifestation mastery that goes in and around making sure we do get those desirable habits from not only our partner, but instilled within ourselves as well, isn't it?
Yes, of course. Yes, absolutely.
So start us off then, Suman. When we're thinking about, what are the desirable habits? What would you suggest are those main key things that need to be focused on?
So the first part of manifesting that dream person or having that dream relationship is really getting clear on what is it that you want. And we have to always tread very carefully in this space because sometimes we want stuff and when we actually get it, it's like, oh, I didn't really want that. Or is that what it was? I didn't expect that. So it's about experimenting with it. And what I did with my journey and what a lot of my clients do is they experiment with what they feel their desires are. And once they manifest it, they evaluate it as well and just see and check in with themselves. Does it still sit right? So there's that side of it. There's also another part of it is where sometimes we can manifest things that we don't want. And sometimes we keep thinking about things that we don't want in a person. So it happens a lot when I go through this clarity process with my clients around, okay, so what qualities would you like in a person? And they're like, well, I don't want them to be short. I don't want them to smoke. I don't want them to drink. And I'm like, okay, you're telling me everything that you don't want. I asked you, what do you want? So sometimes for some people, they find it a bit difficult to actually know what they want. But it's still good to know what you don't want in a person, because that don't is equally, you just look at what's the opposite of that. So I don't want a short partner. Okay, so you want somebody who's tall. Let's get specific on that and get the height amount in if you know what the height would be. Again, it's just one of those things that we need that starts helping that clearer message that we're sending out to the universe, so they're a bit clearer of what to send your way. With regards to an example of something that you think that you want, and then it turns out not to be what you want. An example is I had a really interesting client of mine who was a very loud, bubbly person, and she said, I really want a loud person, somebody who's like me, similar personality traits. She went on a date with this guy who was so loud. She's like, I couldn't hear myself think. I'm such a loud person myself. I realized actually what I need is a quiet person who can help allow me to be loud. So it really helped her shift and shape what she actually wanted. So just to share that little insight.
I think it's very relevant, because I think especially women, when we're looking to attract, what we desire in terms of a life partner, we quite often think, if there is a sort of little trait or habit that he's got that we don't particularly like or desire, we think, oh, I can change him and change that. But it's not about, having that mindset, is it? It's about looking at, what you can do in terms of working on yourself and changing yourself and inspiring him to then want to be his best version, rather than trying to change him to be that.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, it's such a funny double-edged sword, isn't it? When we start feeling this way and thinking this way, that we want to change the person and we want to change them because we're changing them for the better. And in your heart, you're probably being truthful and honest about that. It's not coming from a bad place or a negative place. However, equally, when somebody's with us, we want them to accept us, flaws and warts and all. And It's like, we don't want to change. And if you be true to ourselves, we only want to change if we can change for the better. But any change comes from the person. So if I'm going to change, it's going to come from me, not because my partner wants a change in me. Equally, we've got to give that same energy back to the people we try to attract in our lives. We have to be non-judgmental, have full love and compassion towards them, and full acceptance of them. So if the ideal place is to have manifest the desires and the desirable habits, so that you don't have those niggly things where, oh, they do this and it really bothers me. But if that does be manifested in a relationship, reflect on it and just think, what's coming up in me? Why is this manifesting in my life, in my relationship, coming up in the form of what's being manifested? Because usually it comes from a place of something being reflected from the inside of ourselves. We always look externally to it, but if something is cropping up, just have that little pep talk with yourself, that what is this telling me? What is it actually telling me? And try and really just link in with your inner self to work out why that's been manifested.
Absolutely. It all comes down to asking yourself those key questions rather than pointing the finger at the other person, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yes.
So, Suman, what, for the purposes of some of our audience members, I'm sure they're thinking, well, what is this manifestation word? This is becoming quite a hot topic at the moment, but I don't understand what it is and how it works. So would you be able to delve into a little bit of that for the benefit of some of the audience members, please?
Absolutely. It's my passion, my topic of interest, the thing I can talk about day and night. So manifestation comes from the law of attraction. It is what underpins manifestation. So people talk about there's many different types of universal laws out there. And actually this dates back to however far you can go back, especially if you look in terms of religion. Like Jesus, for example, was a very high manifester. A lot of quotes in the Bible lead towards this as well, and talk about things like ask and you will get the answer, knock and the door will be answered. If you put it out there, you will get a response from the universe or from the higher creator, whatever a person believes in, but an answer will always be given. And so it's about believing and having faith, and having that utmost belief and faith that you'll receive what you're asking for and what you want. And it's all about in terms of energy and vibration. So whatever energy we're putting out to the universe, whatever thoughts, emotions, feelings, that's all what makes up our vibration to the universe. Because even thoughts carry a vibration. Even we as people, we carry certain vibrations in our energy and our auras, whatever you want to call it. Like, people label it different things, but ultimately it's however we're showing up in the world. So an example is, if somebody's constantly complaining about something, they end up manifesting more things to complain about, because that's what's always on their mind. So if you're constantly thinking about the things that you want in life and the good things, and you're always in a space of love and joy and peace, you'll manifest more of that, because that's the energy you radiate within yourself, which is why it's always important to keep on top of these things, that even if you have emotional dips and sometimes things don't go our way, and that's a natural part of life, and having emotions is also natural. So by no means am I saying never be upset, never have those down days, but it's about understanding not to stay in that space for too long, and having a bit more of a responsibility towards the energy that you're putting out there, because it's how you're showing up to the world, and not only is it affecting people around you, but it ultimately affects what you're manifesting for yourself.
Yeah, it's about
So
having
hope
that
that
awareness
helps.
to catch yourself if you are going down that negative rabbit hole of thoughts and feelings. It's catching yourself doing it, isn't it, in the moment? And like you say, not denying it, because we're humans after all. So allow
Yeah.
yourself to have that negative feeling or emotion or thought in that particular moment, so that you can acknowledge it and release it, but not allow
Yes,
it then to sort of
that's it.
carry on in
That's a
that.
key word that you've just said, to release it, because we have to feel them, because it's bringing something up for you. We have to look at it, and it's about that reflection work, and reflecting on, why has this come up for me? Why am I feeling this way? Where is this coming from? Is there anything I can do to help resolve this now? So by resolving it, I can release it, I can let it go, and I can move forward. It's where we don't let these things go, we don't face these emotions, where they just end up being harbored, and resentments can build up, and then of course that can manifest even into more nasty and negative things, in the form of health issues, or it might impact your relationships in other areas of your life, maybe not even love relationships, but you're falling out with people at work, or you're falling out with family members. So yeah, it's a very important thing to keep on top of, and just observe rather than absorb, is what I always say.
So what advice would you give, Suman, to a client who has come to you, that you can see is one of those what I call energy vampires, that's always in that doom and gloom, looking on the dark side of things, and their glass is only half empty rather than half full? How do you sort of start with that sort of person, in terms of changing that mindset and giving them some easy exercises to get them shifted?
A very, very interesting question. I'll be honest with you, with the work that I do on myself and the energy I put out there, I'm always putting it out there to manifest certain types of client that fit in with
Yes.
being coachable by myself. I think some people who are too much in a doom and gloom place actually don't naturally gravitate towards people like myself, because it highlights too much of what's going on with them, and they don't want to confront it. So it depends on what journey they're at, because if they're actually that much in that dark space, they're actually not ready to come out of it. Or some people in a victim mentality don't want resolution, so they don't seek help. So they don't tend to fall in my path, in all honesty. But the people who have come my way, who show signs of, like, they're a bit of in an open space, where they've got elements of sometimes being in their dark space, elements of sometimes being optimistic, so they're kind of trying to find their way forward to stay in the more positive, optimistic side. The tips and tricks that I give them is that when the negative thing comes up for them, is one of the first tasks I ever do with my clients, to be honest, and this is a great one for your audience for sure, build a happiness list. And some people struggle to create this list, and where some people fly and write 2 or 3 pages worth. So it totally depends on where you're at in life and how you look at the world. Everybody has their own map of the world, of course, but just start writing down the first, even if it's just 5 things, and then add 5 to it, and then every so often come to it. Something that my clients have started doing is creating what we call happiness jars. So they'll buy a nice cute jar that resonates with them, that they find it cute. They'll get coloured pieces of paper, and they'll write on there the different things that make them happy. So whenever you're having a down moment, or a gloomy day, or you're in that space, you can grab your happiness jar and pull something out, maybe 1, maybe 2 or 3, and just remind yourself of those things that make you happy. Now, it might even be certain activities, like listening to your favorite song, or looking at pictures of loved ones, or videos of you with your loved ones from a lovely memory, maybe a birthday party or Christmas, and really feeling that joy that you had in that moment. So it's not just about reminding yourself that, oh, that memory makes me happy. Actually go and watch that video, actually go and listen to that song. If you have a favorite book or a favorite film, if there's a person in your life that when you talk to it really helps you light up, give them a call, drop them a message, let them know that you love them and you'll be thinking of them. So yeah, creating a happiness list and then using that to counteract any negative things that happen, to do more positive things. It helps really shift that inner dial, so to speak.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to a lot of those things as being great inspirations for creating that happiness instantly within ourselves, because I certainly know that on my computer I've got certain music tracks that I'll click on, if I'm wanting to feel uplifted and happy, that'll instantly take me there in a matter of seconds. So I love what you said there.
Perfect. And with me as well, I also love like comedy films and comedy clips. So if I know that there's certain like comedians out there on like Instagram and stuff, and they do like those really short videos, you can just literally watch 1 or 2 funny videos and it'll switch your mood and switch your energy in that time. So yeah, just work out for yourself what makes your heart sing, what makes you happy, and get that down on paper.
Love it. And I love just reminded me of one of my favorite comedians is Tim Vine, because he does a lot of one-liners, so those one-line I'm just in hysterics. I've only got to listen to a few of them and I'm instantly in fits of giggles, and even if I've heard it 100 times before, they still make me laugh.
Yeah, brilliant. See, so that's a perfect example. Something to go in your happiness jar.
Yeah, I'll give one to the audience just because it's one of my favorites. So, when you think of Black Beauty, now there's a dark horse. That's just, it's just one of them.
Yeah.
Just one of them. It's just one of the, Tim Vine type joke where it's just, yeah. Okay, Lynn, wind it back. Some people don't see them one-liners.
No, but even with humour, I was just going to say, everybody has their own like version of what they prefer in humour. So just go with whatever resonates with you, what you find humorous. Just have a little playlist, maybe if it's YouTube videos, or like I tend to find a lot of inspiration on TikTok nowadays, and but is it the mixture of somebody cooking some nice food and I'm like, oh, that looks amazing, I'm going to make that, and then I never make it, but I get joy out of watching it. So yeah, whatever I guess, like they say, whatever tickles your fancy.
Yeah. And then, even if it gets you salivating over potentially enjoying that meal, it creates good energy within you, doesn't it?
Absolutely, spot on. Yeah.
So another thing you said, that when we were talking off air, of the importance of creating that self-worth and that self-image and that energy that goes with that. Any tips around an exercise that our audience members could do for themselves that would help in that particular area?
Yes, of course. So another thing, and it links to what we were just saying earlier in the recording, with regards to when we manifest certain things in the relationship. So whether you're getting to know somebody and there might be something you manifest in a conversation, maybe a text message, maybe a phone call, maybe a date, a lot of it is down to whatever energy you've put out and you've manifesting. So this is where sometimes where there's lack of self-worth, self-love, or you don't see yourself as being the greatest, or you feel like you're not bringing a great deal to the plate, sometimes it can manifest in the form of what's coming up then in the relationship or in that whole process of dating, and it crops up in that way, and you might sit there thinking, I don't understand why I keep seeing these patterns. It's about working on this side of it and yourself, because having a relationship with yourself and being in love with yourself is the number one key before you seek relationship with anybody else, because it doesn't serve the other person. Sometimes you could go on a date yourself and sometimes you don't get the right vibe from somebody. You think they're nice and they're nice looking. I'm not quite sure what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but I just didn't have a spark, or I just didn't vibe with them, and you don't know what it is. And what it is you're picking up their energy when they've got maybe a lack of self-worth. So sometimes you could be in a really ideal dating situation and the guy doesn't want to call you back, or it could be a girl, but the person doesn't contact you back, and you were really thinking, I've had a really good day, and why hasn't, what happened there? And it's just about checking in with yourself, that first of all, is there something that you're putting out there without realizing it? Because it's very subconscious, these vibes that we put out, this body language. this hesitation. Like, even if in this, lockdown period people have gone through as well, if you're doing a lot of online dating and then you don't like putting your face on a FaceTime recording or something, it can sometimes say a lot more than you're trying to say. So just be mindful of that. And a tip that I'll give is mirror work is very, very, very powerful for building up that self-worth and self-image. So looking at yourself every day in the morning and really looking yourself in the eye, seeing everything that you value and you love about yourself. Because again, the more joy and love you create inside yourself for yourself, you will emit that, and then other people will crave it, they want it, they'll be around you. And you will, funny enough, find yourself going on a journey where you almost realize you might not want to be with anybody, or you're like, actually, do I really even want to date? And then all of a sudden, people are knocking on your door to want to date with you, and you think, oh, this is funny, you're all turning up now when I don't actually even want to date you, because the energy switch really is that powerful. And then you kind of call the shots then.
Absolutely, 100% agree with that. I think once you get to a stage where, you're not bothered about being single, you're not focused on, you set the intention that you'd like to attract a great partner, but you're not actually in a space where you need it. You want it, you desire it, but you don't actually need it, because you're comfortable in your own skin, and you're happy enough being, in your single happy state. Then, like you say, then you start attracting loads of usually invitations, then, because that energy.
And you also find when you actually, and when you also actually do find the right person and you start entertaining, a committed relationship, there'll be people who come out of the woodworks, and you'll be like, oh, where were you when I was looking? But because your energy's changed and you're showing up differently, guess what? Their energy is now attracted to that energy, because you're in a space of contentment where you don't need that relationship. Whereas sometimes we can be showing up for dating and stuff in a very needy state, that I'm really desperate for this relationship. I feel really lonely. I really need to feel fulfilled by being with somebody. And you feel incomplete. And there's a lot of, as much as I love a good old sob romantic story, a lot of it echoes in the books, in the papers, in the, any story you read or watch, any movie. It's always like as if you're a lost half soul and you're waiting for your other half to complete you. You're a whole person, whether you're with somebody else or not. So always understand that. And the other person they enhance who you are. They don't complete you. They just add to you.
100% agree. They are the cherry on the top of an already fabulous cake of the person that you are. That's what I usually say.
Yes. I mean, I do know with the mirror technique, there are some people who may be at a stage that they struggle with it. I did have a client where I asked them about, how are they when they see themselves in the mirror? They're like, I actually avoid having mirrors in my house. I have the tiniest mirror in my bathroom, and I just about look in that just to make sure I'm looking okay when I leave the house. And I was just like, okay, so that was very interesting. So if you do find yourself being that type of person who feels that way, just start embracing the simple things about yourself. It might be that, oh, I don't like my hair, I don't like my skin, but maybe you like your eye color, maybe you like your hands, maybe you like your teeth. Just find those things that you like about yourself, love about yourself, and start working on those simple things first, and start getting yourself out of yourself, because there's so much of you to love. But if you can't even love yourself, how's the person that you're going on a date with expect you to love you?
Yeah, because usually we attract the person that reflects back to us how we feel about ourselves, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's like you say, it's very important, even if you're resistant to doing that mirror work, to think about, what are my positive traits? What are my positive qualities? What can I actually choose to look at and admire and appreciate about myself, even if it's not, the whole package at the moment. You can build up to that, can't you, by just making that first step.
That's right. And no pun intended, use that as a reflection. Think to yourself, why am I resistant to looking at myself in the mirror? What's coming up for me? And try and work through it. If you can, it's always better to work with a coach or somebody else who can help you talk through it and help identify what the root cause is or where it's coming from. But even if you want to just work on yourself in the meantime, just sit there and contemplate, and maybe journal it out, write it out, whatever works for you. Just try and figure out what's going on and why that's cropping up for you, and that hesitation, where is it coming from?
Yeah, because usually it stems back to our childhood, doesn't it? And maybe our parental
Absolutely.
experiences, or even teachers can inadvertently, create that negative image that could project on ourselves. If you've been labelled as being stupid in school or something like that, can't they?
Yeah.
And kids take that on board.
Or even just past heartbreak, because people sometimes have gone in multiple relationships, had their heart broken a few times, and feel like it must be me. It's obviously me. I don't look right, or I don't have the right personality or the qualities. So whatever it might be going on for somebody, it's a story you're telling yourself. But you always need to remember there's a reason why some relationships don't work out. It's usually a blessing in disguise. They weren't the right person for you, and to some extent you weren't the right person for that person. So the fact that you're freed from that person, it frees you up to be with someone who's more aligned with you. So that's a brilliant thing. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. So it's just, again, the way we look at it. We need to start shifting our perspective on how we look at those bad situations that have happened in the past, and making sure that you're not feeling that's your identity. That may have been an incident that's occurred in your life, but it doesn't need to be something you carry forward.
Absolutely. Our past doesn't define our future. We can always look at things in like you say, in a different way, through a different perspective, through a different lens. It's a bit like, I hear this quite commonly stated, that sometimes we can look at things through rose-tinted glasses and then have a bit of an unrealistic expectation around things. We can look at things through dark glasses and have, that negative, dark perspective on life, or we can take the glasses off altogether.
It's so true. Well, what I always say is good and bad both exist in the world, is the truth. I can't categorically say everything is roses and amazing, and I can't categorically say everything's death and destruction, but they both equally exist in the world. It's what do you give more attention to, and what do you notice more? That's what manifestation is, the crux of it, really. What you give more attention to, you'll notice more of. So if you want to notice all the horrible things going on in the world, you'll notice more of them, and then your world becomes like, oh, it is such a horrible world, because it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy that it's like, see, I knew it, and see, that's just confirmed it, and you confirm it more and more and strengthen that neurology to believe that. Equally, for people out there, when you look at optimism, you're like, why is that person so happy for? Why do they feel like the world's so good? Because that person's chosen to keep seeing goodness in the world and goodness in people, and the more they do that, the more they keep witnessing it and experiencing it, and so they start having more confirmation bias in their own mind that the world's so amazing. So you kind of create that by the way that you see the world. So yeah, I definitely say, if you have a choice, I'd rather choose to see other good things in the world. If that means that my life's going to be happier as a result, why not?
Absolutely. So also, I think another important point to talk about, Suman, is when we actually set an intention around what we desire, is to not then hang on to that, to let it go, and just trust that it'll come to us, rather than have a high expectation and focus around it, where it's that you then are coming from that place of fear and lack if you're sort of clinging on to it tightly, so to speak.
Yeah, no, very, very good point, Lynn. Absolutely relevant, because it does happen a lot. And you want a certain thing in a person, and then the more you have this real deep need for it, again, it becomes that needy energy and almost a desperate energy, and that's always a pushing energy. So it pushes a person away, and if anything, you're focusing on that thing so much, the focus on it so emphasized, because you're trying to overcompensate for the feeling of not having that in that person. So the subconscious message, what you're actually sending the energy to the universe, is that desire that you don't want. So then you end up manifesting more of that. An example I'll give you is, I've recently met up with a good friend of mine, and she's already got a child from a previous relationship that didn't work out, and then now with a future relationship, she goes, whoever I settle down with, I do want more children in the future. She goes, I don't know why I keep manifesting guys who don't want children. And I was just like, that's very interesting, isn't it? And she's like, but I really want to have kids. So this is an example of that. So the desirable trait was there, that she wants somebody who wants to have children and has that similar energy to her. But I was like, place, whether you have children going forward or not, either way, you're happy. If you have the child, amazing. If you don't have the child, equally let go of that expectation, and that way you'll bring about more people whose energy isn't feeling that. Because the minute them people are coming near towards her, they're feeling this, they're feeling that energy about, they're almost seeing her in a way that you've already got a child, so you'd be very ideal for me, that I don't want children because you've already got a kid, you probably won't want anymore. So I was thinking, I've said to her, just focus on yourself, what's going on in yourself that's manifesting it, and why do you deeply want this? Because it creates that push energy, which feels contradictory to the other advice that's given, but it's about wanting it and absolutely letting go. Another example I'd like to quickly share is with a client. I did this whole quality list thing that I always do with my clients around soulmate manifestations, and we put together the dream partner. So I'll put everything down, what the person wants. Ironically, with this lady, I wrote the things down and she didn't. So she spoke about it with me. I had it all in my notes. 2 months later, she's dating somebody who sounds very like certain traits that she was talking about. And I said, do you remember the stuff you talked about 2 months ago with me, what you wanted in a person? She goes, I can't fully remember. So I was just like, how tall is this guy? And she goes, well, he's about 5'10". I looked on my list and it said 5'10". I said, okay. I said, what car does he drive? She goes, I don't know. I said, okay, well, you've put on here, he should be driving an Audi A8, I think it was. And the next day she texts me, she goes, oh my God, he drives an Audi A6. And I was just like, okay, close enough.
That's very
so it's interesting that she didn't write it down. She just, she's very, very, and it gets even funnier because she's like, she wanted a guy who looks like Vin Diesel. And I said, well, does this guy have hair? She's like, no, he hasn't got any hair. I said, well, that's close enough. So it's very interesting, and it's just interesting the fact that she didn't actually write the list down or ponder on the list or dwell on the list. She just spoke about it, shared it, set the intention out in the universe in that one session with me. I wrote it down for her, but now I'm checking back to it. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's eerily matching this list of yours. Do you realize? She's like, I did not even remember saying that to you.
Well, it's good in a way that she didn't, because she was obviously able to let it go then, wasn't she?
Yes, and so that is absolutely a massive part of manifesting that right person, by not having that attachment. Again, religious texts teach us this so much, and even just general self-help books, they just say about don't have that attachment to things, and this is a massive part of it as well.
Definitely, because I think definitely energetically people pick up on that, don't they? And then they feel pressured, and that can be, then manifesting them wanting to, like you say, pull away then.
That's right. I mean, equally with this same client, is so hilarious. She said a few years ago she was dating somebody who she really wanted to marry, but he didn't want to get married. So again, there was that desperate need and that desperate energy. I really want to marry you. And then he didn't want to get married. And then as she's done work with me, she's come to a stage where she's got more self-acceptance, more self-confidence. She's got more love for herself. And she was one of the, again, like I've just mentioned earlier in the recording, she's come to the state where she doesn't actually even want to date. She's like, I don't really need a man. I'm happy how I am, actually. And now this same guy's come back in her life and he's like, if you want a ring on your finger, I'll give you a ring. And I was like, isn't that interesting? Isn't that so interesting?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot to be said for being single. If you get out of that desperation energy and just be happy in your own skin and love the life that you've got, and be grateful for the life you've got, even if you haven't got a partner in your life, then it's amazing what you attract.
And it's usually for a reason. If you're single at a certain time, it's because your energy is meant to be exerted in something else in your life at that point. So it's divine timing that the universe is saying, if you were with somebody right now, you wouldn't give energy and time to that other thing. Equally, sometimes single people look at people in relationships and always be like, oh, I wish I had that. Oh, you're so lucky you've got that. And it's like, well, you don't actually know another person's story. There's some people who are suffering in relationships. They're not happy. They feel suffocated. Look at you thinking, I wish I was single and free. Like, just really appreciate the space that you're at.
Absolutely, because we can all be envious of each other, regardless of whether we're single or in a relationship. Those in a relationship, if it's not great, we're probably envious of the single people and vice versa.
There's a classic Indian saying, which I'll just say the translated version of it for the sake of the viewers. And it goes along the lines of, the laddu is an Indian sweet. So they're like, the sweet of a marriage is such, the person who eats it regrets it, and the person who doesn't eat it, they regret it.
Love it. That's great. I've not heard that one before.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insights today, Suman. I would love you now, for the benefit of the audience, to share your best contact information before we wrap up.
Of course. So I'm on the social media platforms, loosely speaking, the majority of the main ones. I have a Facebook page, which I'd like to redirect you guys to. If you want to follow me there, would be great. I share regular videos and tips and quotes and just things around manifestation to help you keep it updated in your life. So it's www.facebook.com/manifestation maven, which is spelled manifestation maven being MAVEN.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That's been great. I really loved this particular conversation, as always, with yourself.
Yes.
So thank you again for sharing your wonderful insights,
Thank you so
and such a treat to talk about manifestation and get to the bottom of what that looks like, and for our audience to probably, for some of them, experience what they may be able to put into practice for themselves now, something different.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really hope it does help. There's loads of people I've worked with and used these same techniques. It's made massive transformation and results for them. So I really wish that for your audience as well.
Excellent. All right then, so I'll just wrap up as always and just say true love starts with opening our hearts, and until next time, goodbye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Hearts Entwined podcast. You can follow Lynn via the Facebook group Two Hearts Entwined, or search Lynn Smith, inspirational speaker, at LinkedIn, or email lynn@hearts-entwined.com. That's LYN@hearts-entwined.com. Remember, true love starts with opening our hearts.